Well, hello and welcome, Andy Deeks, DKS Group. We're going to follow on from the videos we've been putting up recently. I talked that this one might have a little bit of a sales pitch, but we'll see how we go. Not normally very salesy, but business advertising in sport. Something that the team at DKS are really passionate about. And obviously you saw in the last video, I got the wonderful Carl Ford, who we've got a nice collaboration with, to put a little video up talking about some of the offsets, the capital gains, the gifts, the taxes and everything else above my little polished chrome dome. So let's have a look at what potential you can do. So this is basically, as a business, what are you going to look at when you look at using your advertising and your marketing budget going into sport? Now obviously DKS Group, we've been sports based nearly 30 years, as you know, with me, my brother, my father. We started off cycling, motorcycling, running events, hosting events. We started off with BMX, motorbikes, enduro, got involved in speedway, got involved in touring cars. I went and worked in F1. My brother obviously went around the world with the world mountain bike team. He was part of Team GB. We've hosted and we've ran national and international motorsport events. We're involved in the equine, we've done rugby, we've done athletics, and we're now involved in clay shooting. So there isn't a sport we haven't got a connection with or a touch base with. But anyway, let's bring that back to your business. Now you've heard me talk about you need to invest in business, and you need to invest in making your brand, your image and your customer experience a lot better. And I constantly talk about doing that in sport. Now you've got the heart on the sleeve stuff that Carl mentioned about having a boarding at a football ground. Now luckily you can't see it because the toy's in the way. The other side of the toy is Thetford Forest. There's a little village community football pitch. Now the boardings around the side are a nominal fee of £600. Nothing that we would get involved with, there's no money. But as a business, that's £600 for a boarding, probably about 3 metres, 2 to 3 metres, 2.5, alongside that football ground. And you'll say to me, and well, 600 quid. Right, A, you get the tax back because it's advertising and marketing, which is what Carl told you. But also it's alongside a main road. So not only have you got eyes on, as Carl likes to say, eyes on the board when there's a match on, this ground's used for the youth, the adults and the ladies. So that's 3 lots of eyes on the pitch and on your board. Then it's alongside the road. Hang on a minute, well we've got a main A road going past the ground, so potentially hundreds of people a day, let alone a week, are going to see that boarding for £600. Amazing. Now some of our connections make uniforms and kit and football kit. £1,000 will put your name or even buy a kit. So all of a sudden we've got heart on the sleeve community support, sponsorship and partnership for less than £1,000. Now that's all year. Well, hang on a minute, let's move up another section. You could, if you were connected to the, shall we say, the groundkeeping, and you did machinery and grass cutting stuff, you could sponsor, pay for, cut the grass and do the lighting and do the ground and do all that kind of thing as part of your gift. So for not a lot of money and a bit of your staff's wages, all of a sudden then you've done the park and the grass and everything else. So from very little sponsorship, parting with money, and obviously Carl Ford, the accountant, said it's not necessarily the money where you're parting with, it's eyes on the prize. Now football's fairly easy, it's a board that runs down the side. But hang on, I've just said that ground is being used for men, for the youth and for women. It's also alongside the main road. A great exposure for your business and your brand. But also if you go up a league, those stadiums are being used for networking. Now there's a big one, Essex Cricket, close to my heart. You have a big suite upstairs, you network, you mingle. They do an over the boundary networking twice a week. They do a women in business once a week. Hang on a minute, then they've got the ladies, the youth, the men's, the 2020, the one days. Everybody gets to see your boarding, your brand, your image. So for not a lot of money, all of a sudden we've got into a decent demographic, understanding where your customers are. And then Carl talked about giving some money to a speedway rider or a motorsport or a shooter or an athlete. Now let's have a look at some of the things that we get involved in. Every single one of our athletes that we work with and connected with have a massive social media. Over there, Ryan Vickers, the number 7, the British superbike rider, 20-odd thousand followers on social media, on just Instagram. The minute he puts a post up, poof, it explodes. People see it, people invite him out. They invite him out to go and go go-karting and other bits and pieces. Carl Bickley, 15-odd thousand people follow him, our young superstar speedway rider. Scott Nichols, brilliant friend of ours, sponsored with his clothing and his shirts. Obviously he's out. And he's got, obviously, BT Sport, so he's an international celebrity. Then you look at Bobby Thompson, the British touring car driver, had the little tumble and obviously a little bit of concussion, which is why he couldn't finish the season. Another one with 20-odd thousand on Instagram. These people are influential. So when you put a little bit of money to them or you supply a little bit of services to them, you know, that could be them individually or the team or the venues. And it's something I need you to consider. You've got the athletes, the models, and the presenters that are celebrities in their own rights. At the end of the day, here's the little sales pitch. Some of our athletes could do with training equipment through the winter, push bikes, 4x4s, vans, cars, trucks. But I'll explain that to you in a bit. Then we've got the casual clothing. Then we've got the social media that they're on the buttons. And obviously when we come out of lockdown, the majority of them come shooting or they go golf or they go go-karting. It's all about that social element of networking. Now, if you look at Carl Bickley does an end of season thank you to his sponsors for them to put up on the wall. Scott Nichols does an end of season, and little Sammy had a little Scalextrics Mini with all done in her graphics that she was giving to her. So you've got a memento. But I also want you to consider the bigger picture. We looked back at the iconic brands. The JPS Lotus. Now that was a brand that was in its time, in the heyday, smoking was everything. But those iconic images are still being used. Motorsport, passion of ours. You go down to Goodwood, all the iconic livery is still going up and down the hill and round the racetrack. You look at the Jaguar Silk Cut. You look at the famous Nigel Mansell's car, the number 5. You look at some of the iconic advertising is still on these vehicles. You look at some of the big events like the Land Rover Burley Horse Trials. Land Rover have a big arch. You've seen it on my social media. And it's about understanding where your business fits in. The tax deductibles, obviously if you need to, we can put you in touch with Carl. But I need you to consider your business is about the brand, the image and the customer experience and the customer engagement. So you've got everything from Scotty Nichols wearing a very flowery shirt, the same shirt company that supply the Gypsy King, the heavyweight boxing champion. Social media exploded over them and they can still do their thing. Ryan Vickers, the hashtag number 7. British Superbikes, the Flying Ryan on that RAF Reserves Kawasaki. Massive social media presence, normally several 100,000 people watching it live. Bobby Thompson obviously rolled the touring car, not really what we wanted to see, but got minutes of advertising. And I can tell you, for probably less than £10,000 for the year, you can get involved in any one of them. You can start off with £600 grassroots, right the way up to £1,000 for a strip, £5,000 for graphics on the helmet. If you see our good friend Jake Nichols, the number 45, the British motocross superstar, and he is a phenomenal man. His social media explodes regularly because he goes off and does some wild and crazy things. But you can have on his crash helmet, on the visor, on the grips, on the gloves, where he's going to be seen. And as Carl alluded to in our last video, it's something we pride ourselves in, is working with the photographers and the magazines to say, right, where is the best image? Where is this going to be seen? What is going to be the best return on investment for the businesses connected? Then we're up into the next level up. Well, we've talked about the Burley Horse Trials. You could have a stand named after you. Obviously, Old Trafford and Chelsea and places like that, it's big money. But obviously, you've also got the fact that it's the O2 arena. So O2 have got their own arena, and obviously that gets used, it even gets called that. And you've got to understand how your partnership will work with an athlete, a team, a model, a presenter. Now, Carl alluded to something with the equine world, and obviously we've got DKS Horse Transport, we use Land Rovers and Range Rovers the whole time to tow the horse boxes. But obviously so do some of our country models, so do some of our sporting models, so do some of our sports athletes who use those vehicles. So at the end of the day, what we're looking for is a way of putting your business in with these athletes to benefit them, but also a way of benefiting you. Now, it's something we did before. If you have a look, the amazing little Townsend twins, the Double Trouble as I like to call them, they've just won an award for their fitness influencer during this lockdown. Well, they had a lovely arrangement with Miller Smarter Cars down there in Colchester. They had a little funky Fiat 500. And Perry saw the potential of these two girls going around East Anglia, doing the shows, doing the events, doing the motivational fitness. And he supplied them a little car. Well, actually, it didn't really cost him a great deal. It was being advertised, it was branded, it was marketing, and he sold a few cars from them. Also made the garage female friendly, because the twins would turn up and they'd be with him and they'd see him and they'd invite him to shows and they'd be doing bits and pieces. Absolutely perfect, but Perry thought outside the box. That's why he's a friend of ours. And he thought, actually, you know what? I'm going to give these two girls a little Fiat 500. It's funky, it's fun, it's young, it's fresh. So are the two Townsend girls. And they're sponsored now by Shaw Deodorant. Fresh. So have a look at how your business will fit into sport. It could be the model, the presenter, the athlete. It could actually be the team. Now, we talk about the team. And we talk about the big trucks, we talk about the Land Rovers, the Range Rovers, the horse boxes, even the big toy behind us. You could put your advertising on that. Well, not that one, one of the... And on the side of an Arctic, because most race teams use big Arctics. And if you've seen the website, you'll see some of the big trucks branded all the way up the side. Massive advertising, up and down the motorways, becomes the hospitality unit. Whoa! How big do you want your advertising to go around the UK and in some cases around Europe? So you have to have a look at whether your business will benefit the brand, the image and the customer experience. So when you think about your marketing budget, think about what you're going to do, your demographic, your geographic. So we've now started to move up. So we mentioned the Burley Horse Trials, the 4x4s. Now we get into the big serious stuff. Yes, BSB, BTC. Some of the big events, and you've seen even the London Marathon, even FedEx, TNT get involved, and you'll go, hang on, I never saw any of their advertising. No, you didn't, because they supplied the trucks that moved all the equipment round. They became the logistics partner, and they also worked to deliver stuff, take stuff out. And then you look at some of the big motorsport events, and I'm going to mention our good friend Guy Nichols in Ipswich, somewhere over there. You look at the F1 at Silverstone. The fork trucks that lifted the damaged cars up all had True 7 on them. So Guy partnered into F1, supplied machinery, and he supplies machinery to various events to help them develop and to help them grow. Probably not a great deal of cost for supplying equipment, you know, driver's wages or a bit of fuel, but actually it's helped the event out so much. And I know around the country, some of our clay shooting, the World Championship, the British Championship, the British Open, have all used teleforks to put the clay targets up in the air and fire them off. Guy supplied some of them, so he's got his advertising. We're looking at his teleforks and his diggers around the UK with clay shooting. Well, hang on, that makes sense. So there's various ways of getting involved. Now we talk to F1. F1 has an amazing situation, and it's starting to happen in a lot of other sports. When you watch F1 on the telly, it is slightly different to what you're seeing when you're there. And you're going to go, and how's that happen? It's live. No. When you're watching it on telly, they can superimpose the sponsors' adverts onto the corners, the apexes, the runway. They can then put it on the banner, and if there isn't any, they can superimpose that. Now, when you're there, you look forward. If you've been to Silverstone, you look out and go, that's a plain bit of tarmac. Watch it on telly, that's got an advertising branding and logo on it. You look at the way everybody's dressed, hence I have the DKS up here, and I'm going to let you into a secret why I have it up here. Look at the camera. Look at any photo shoot, it's from here up, respectably for the women, and it's from here up. So the collar, the shoulders, whatever position I get into. So even if I'm clay shooting, down my arm, across there, on my collar, you see whichever arm I am. And if you look at the Speedway, when they do an interview, Scott was the first one, and I loved him for this, brought his arms across because the logos went down there and went down there. Back in the days of playing around with the mountain bike boys, we used to have sponsorship of Swatch watches. If you remember, they were multicoloured. And we put one on there and one on there with the times, so they linked up. And it was quite fun because you could see what time it was. It was a little bit of an eye-opener. We call it the pink pig. What can we do that's slightly different? Scott Nichols wears pink gloves. Manly man, lovely beard, a little bit of highlighted, pink gloves. Because whenever the cameras go, you see the pink, that's Scott. So you need to understand how your brand, your image, and who you're going to associate with. So as I've said, a little bit of a sales thing now. I'm looking, and I'd like the businesses that we're working with that are looking for athletes, models, presenters, venues, championships, to start having a look what you've got as a business. What have you got that you do? What have you got that is equipment, services, and what could you buy that is still in the remit of your business so you can get the tax deductibles? See Carl Ford. So if you run in trucks, you could put some fuel to a rider, an athlete, a model, a presenter, or you could supply a vehicle to one of them. If you're car sales, you can supply a vehicle to one of them, brand it up, you get it back at the end of the year. So it only costs you the depreciation. Wonderful. If you're into buying workwear and clothing, you could supply that and you get the tax deductibles and they get their kit. Teamwear, because obviously it's your team. If you supply food, you might be able to supply the nutrition. If you've got a gym, you might be able to supply the gym membership. Think about what you've got that you can instantly fix, instantly mesh with, and then think outside the box. So like I say, that's what DKS do. That's why we're really good at it. So we work both sides of the fence. We work with the athletes, the models, the presenters, the venues and the championships to make sure they're at a big enough and high enough level. Their mindset, their attitude, their profile is there to support you as the business. But we work the other side of the fence. We have businesses' money and we go, right, what are you looking for? What do you want to do? Where are we going to invest your money to get a greater return on investment? Getting the eyes on the prize, as it were. What are you going to get back out of it? So from heart on the sleeve, little £600 boarding rounder thing, by the time you've taken the VAT off of that, by the time you've had it made and everything else, you're talking a few pound a week, basically, for 600 quid. You've got years worth of advertising. You supply one of our country models or one of our equestrians or one of our athletes a vehicle, the depreciation at the end of the year maybe 10%. That vehicle's been seen, it's been branded, it's gone to the right places. Kind of, they've got 10, 15, 20, 30,000 people on social media. They're taking pictures and giving it the selfies. One of our little country models, exactly the same, looking for a vehicle at the moment. She's got modelling shoots around the UK next year. She's got competitions around the UK. So a vehicle is going to be useful. Little Ryan, the BSB rider, wants a little push bike, do a bit of winter training if he's up here in Thetford. The golfer we mentioned could do with a vehicle, could do with some clothing. He's got his bag sorted. So it's about having a look at how your business fits in, the return on investment for your business. So hopefully that's been of some use. If you want to have a little bit more, the dksgroup.co.uk, and obviously we will be pleased to sit down with you, and we're talking and negotiating ready for next season. So it doesn't matter what sport it is, what level of investment you want to put in, from the £600 boarding down a football ground to the £100,000 massive per inch on an F1 car, or the boarding or the sponsorship on venues. You can even sponsor speedway, motorsport, equestrian, clay shooting, rugby, football, cricket, even going to the polo, even going to Newmarket. You can have a suite and a box, entertain your clients. There's the hospitality you can consider. Oh, is it worth having a suite? Is it worth having a hospitality box at one of these venues? That way I can bring my clients in, we can entertain, and we can do that. Well, there's plenty of venues around the UK we've connected with. So a little bit longer video than normal, but have a look at the website, see what you think, have a chat with us, and let's talk about building your business, growing it, developing it, building the brand, improving the image, and engaging the customers. Take care.